But we're back. And today we're here to discuss post-election 2012, the state of the nation Ghana as regards the peace that we have in this country. But there are some very interesting developments that, as usual, you know that we cannot allow to pass by. This night, just this night, Joy FM once again has broken a story that the former Minister of Tourism, Madame Ekuasena Dansoa, is up in arms against the Ghana Tourism Authority. The Chief Executive of the Ghana Tourism Authority and Madame Ekuasena Dansoa are trading allegations of corruption. Interestingly, this time it is not the NPP that is making these allegations. Madame Ekuasena Dansoa claims that the Ghana Tourism Authority is being run by a mafia that collects monies that are supposed to go to the government and spend on themselves. The Ghana Tourism Authority is also accusing Madame Ekuasena Dansoa of signing away certain contracts without due board approval. Let's see how this plays out. But all of this is happening at a time where we have a lot of dumso in this country. It is happening at a time where we have water crisis in this country. It is happening at a time where there's gas shortage in this country. It is happening at a time where sorrowfully we are considering once again to increase utility tariffs. It a big KK. I guess we've gotten there. My guests in the studios today are Mr. Kwesi Agyemang-Busia, NPP Atlanta Chairman. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And the famous Stephen Amwa, aka Stika. My boss, welcome.
Thank you, boss.
Okay. Now, we are discussing post-election 2012, but Mr. Kwesi Agyemang-Busia, since you are the one that, you know, you're coming from Atlanta and you're the bugger and all of that, I want to start with you. You were here for the election 2012. How did you see the entire election?
I think it was well conducted in terms of the peaceful way that it went. I believe that it was interesting to me to see people line up hours, long hours before, long lines the night prior to election day, go out there and exercise their votes. It was interesting to me. It was an indication of how well we're doing in terms of people getting involved in the process. So that was a good signal compared to what I've seen in previous years, even from afar.
Now, compare election 2012 to election 2008. What were the significant differences?
Well, first of all, we went into the biometric system of getting people involved in this and trying to fine-tune the mistakes, if you will, the challenges of 2008. As we sit here, of course, if you fast forward, we know that we're in court now, which means there are concerns about what happened in 2012. 2008, it was a close election, but we didn't have the kind of situation we have here, where now we're all in a mode of waiting to see how this unfolding story will end. That's a big difference between the two. The biometric, obviously, as we know today, may have had some vulnerabilities that we're not aware of. And I believe the evidence in court and so forth will reveal some of these things that we have to fine-tune our system. It's a work in progress, obviously. Okay. Democracy in of itself is a work in progress. Okay. And so we're working towards a goal. But between the two, we've come a long way in terms of introducing biometric. We may have had some challenges in terms of testing that adequately before going to the polls. Playing Monday morning quarterback, as they say, you can see some of these challenges. But on the whole, I think we're moving towards a goal. The very fact that we are even in court and not in the streets, if you will, killing each other, is a good indication that democracy is working.
Okay. Stephen, I was with you during the entire election process. How did you see it?
It was interesting. The point is that somebody like me that I've been experiencing Ghana's election from 1992, even as a child, and through 96, 2000 up to now, just at the face value, especially if you have not been part of the processes, you might have been probably deceived into believing that everything was okay. For violence, it was quite insignificant. I mean, I should appreciate that. But then if you're analyzing election, you need to analyze it, the entire critical activity path of the election, the entire activity and whatever comes out of it. Because if you're talking about election, you need to talk about from registration. You need to talk about even displaying those who have registered, and then those in the queue before voting, and then the voting processes, and after the voting. And normally we have two ways that you can analyze whether it was good or bad: the technical and the mechanical. The mechanical is whether it was violent free or not, which I will say that it wasn't everywhere it was free, but then at least it was significantly appreciated. It was quite okay. But talking about technical aspect, it was not at all. Technical aspect, it was too bad. In fact, significantly bad, remarkably bad, and that is why we are in court. And I think it's the worst since 1992, in spite of the fact that we're having black boxes. This variance, of course, every election you have minor variance, irregularities. But this one, the variance is so huge, it's unacceptably huge. And to me, it's the worst election that Ghana has ever had. If you're taking out the mechanical aspect and only considering the technical, the processes and the results and the variance between the actual vote and then the dummy vote, if I should put it in quote, was really, really unacceptable, and it's unprecedented in our political history.
Now, Akwesi, I want to come back to you. Let's assume that this happened in the United States, where results came from 28 polling stations that were never part of the official list. What would have happened?
It wouldn't happen in the United States, first of all. That's a refined democracy. That's a system where, you know, I'll come to your question in a minute, but you don't have to have representatives in areas of voting to look out for fairness and make sure that people's votes count. Not in the United States, you know, it's an advanced democracy. We will not have such a situation. You know, it's just not the kind of thing that would happen in the States. In the event that happened, there will be a good scrutiny. We had a close election between Gore, if you remember, but we went through the process. We went to the courts. This is where we need to get to, where the system is foolproof, near foolproof. And in the event that there is something like this, there's a mechanism to correct it. Ultimately, we will get there, as I keep saying. We are a work in progress. But to say that something like this will happen in the United States in the 21st century, it's a far cry. I don't think that is.
Now, Stephen Amo, I want you to address your mind to the fact that, I mean, I believe that you've managed to apprise yourself with the volume of evidence that we're talking about in this court case. What do you think really went wrong in this election?
It's very interesting. I'm not a legal practitioner, and I understand if a case is in court, you don't have to actually be contemptuous in terms of your statement and comment on this very issue that is in court. Surprisingly, I mean, just to digress a bit, our president on the floor of parliament, that was, I think, the highest body in terms of decision making in our country, and was more statutory, that you couldn't have actually heaped scorn on the court process, made a statement that was shocked. So I think I can also make a statement. I mean, trying to laud the Electoral Commission, even as a first respondent in the same issue, and he was never charged being contemptuous or contempt or whatever. But in my opinion, I think it was a syndicate action. I don't think it was an individual or just one group trying to put up this antisocial behavior, attempting to plunge Ghana into such an unfortunate situation. I think there was serious collaboration, there was teamwork, there was consortium, there was syndicate, because the whole thing to me was planned. Look, let me tell you something. I think it was something not just tactical, it was highly strategic. From the CI, what happened? What was the pros and cons that we consider? What were the pros and cons we considered in making sure that the conventional practice of allowing media men to vote as special voters, not to vote this time? Why? I mean, what was the benefit?
Teachers were no longer used.
Thank you. What was the benefit? What happened that the strongest hold of our party, almost everything, about 90%, worked correctly? But the strongholds of the NDC areas, government in power areas, by 11 o'clock in the morning, it had to be postponed to the next day. And the ballot boxes were kept, so that they said almost all the machines were malfunctioning. I mean, how could that happen? The same product that were manufactured by the same company, meant for the same purposes. Ghana will have almost the same temperature, the same exercise, nothing happened. And the next day, early in the morning, all these things, magically, they were working. So you realize that it was, and even when the Electoral Commission was alleged to have waited for some time for us to bring more evidence. No, hurriedly, you have security agencies, the Electoral Commission, blah, blah, they went and just announced and said, oh, you can take it to court. But if you compare this one to 2008, when some of our people were brutalized in one of the regions, to the extent that Honorable Lisbeth Ohen's brother, I think, lost one eye or so, Electoral Commission said that, look, we should bring evidence. This time we brought evidence, said, no, we'll take your evidence to court. So you realize that when you're playing football and the officiating body and the competitors are together working against you, it's not easy. I wouldn't say all the EC officials, no. I wouldn't say probably all the people, all stakeholder individuals and then groups were against MPP. But this was so bad. You realize that the force with which and then the swiftness of the whole thing, you could mean that it has something that had been put on the drawing board, planned, rehearsed, and decided where we had conductivity, interruptions, obstacles, impediments, vis-a-vis, even some media houses, their utterances, and then even news policies getting to the election time. It was very serious. It wasn't easy to fight such syndicates. It was serious. I mean, you couldn't have done much about it. But thanks be to God, there has been a revelation. We have our material evidence. But in mathematics, the principle of synergies actually does not work. In management, yes, they say 1 + 1 is 3. But in mathematics, there's no mathematical theory or theorem or whatever, or axioms that will say that 1 + 1 can be 3 under no circumstances. 1 + 1 is 2. And based on that factual, material, factual, mathematical evidence, I think it's not going to be easy for anybody who thinks he can or he could take Ghanaians for granted. No. But the whole thing, it wasn't something to have been fought easily. It wasn't easy when a syndicate comes against just a party in opposition and they try to plan everything just once. That is why for once, anchors of the NDC, election time, we didn't really witness different forms of violence at different polling stations because they knew what they had done and they were so confident. Some of them jokingly, unfamiliarly or whatever, will tell you before the election, oh, you're Abakra here, you're turning them, you're as if some of them were joking, but they knew what they were about. At least the fact that they prevented media men to vote as a conventional practice. I mean, you realize that they had planned far before. The fact that almost all perceived MPP strongholds were allowed to vote completely throughout the day and finished, and others in their strongholds postponed to the next day. Look, when they were voting Northern Region, just something, then are coming. My brother are coming. I've traveled to vote Northern Region. We left Kumasi around 1 a.m. So early in the morning, we're in Northern Region. We're going around different places in Northern Region. I had a call, and there was a police station called Kakalito Police Station in Yakpegushobu area there, sorry for the pronunciation, along the Black Volta. And that place is characterized, known to be extremely stronghold of the NDC. Sorry, extremely, I mean all elections. One, the Kakalito Police Station, just filling the form, they realized that Nanado had 0. Our president has had, I think, 104, 111. And then one gentleman there, you know, Ghana, we have this misconception that, oh, once somebody is not an account, definitely you can convince the person to do something to favor the government or NDC. No, this guy stood on his feet or grounds and said that I voted for Nana Akufo-Addo. If all my colleagues here who are police station agents did not vote for Nana, I did. And that none of the ballots went bad. So how come that Nana got 0? So after heated debate, which nearly plunged the whole exercise into something unexpected, they decided to open the same box again. Remember, I mean, surprisingly, Nana had 49, the president had 89. The same box from which they said Nana had 0. So it's not like some of us are being unnecessarily difficult. It's not like some of us are interested in, ensuring unrest or perpetual chaotic situation in our country. But the fact of the matter is that, my brother, it is very painful, it is hurting. And we are doing this not because of today. We are doing this because of tomorrow. And if this thing had happened, some of them say that, oh, Nana hadn't done much. Some of them say the MPP, we are troublesome, we are doing this. Look, 2008, what happened? Even when there was a delay, just a delay about a day, what happened? our brothers from the NDC trooped to the Electoral Commission with cutlasses, machete guns, whatever, stones, wielding cutlasses all around. You saw what happened. That was, in terms of severity, that was less. But look at this situation that had plunged other African countries into perpetual war. The decision Nana made, NDC supporters being obedient and listening to our leader, and then resorting to the use of constitutional requirements and the legal tools, what has happened? And surprisingly, people claim they go to church, they go to the mosque, they read the Bible, they read the Quran. They want to emulate the good principles and lifestyles of the Prophet Muhammad and Jesus Christ. And Ghanaians think the only sin in the world is avoidance of fornication and murder. It is interesting. I'm using this platform to tell pastors, church members, Christians, Muslims, that look, God is watching us. And every decision, every action and inaction of any individual who claims to know God, and it's not helping Ghana to build a platform for a better future, but because of your interest, being controlled by cowardice and fear, you want to plunge this country into a perpetual war zone. Because this thing, if it's allowed to go, mark it on my face. One day, Ghana will be destroyed. Not by MPP, not by NDC, not by anyone, but a generation that will resist everything as enshrined in God bless our homeland Ghana, to make sure that the right thing prevails, that good people of this country's mandate will be respected.
Okay. Now we are at a point in time in our history where the entire nation needs to ensure that our mandate is protected. We should definitely let our vote count. I'll take a break now and come back. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. My name is Nana Akufo-Opondama. Today I'm in the studios with Mr. Akwesi Agyeman Busia and Mr. Stephen Amoah. We're discussing post-election 2012, what the state of the nation Ghana is, with particular emphasis on our elections. Now, today these gentlemen in the studios organized a press conference, and the title of that press conference, the theme was Momayambona Baso, which means that let us I have a little bit of a problem with my HE, so forgive me if I'm not able to translate it as apt as I would want it. But the sense I get from that is that let's praise him because he's probably done something good. Mr. Akwesi Agyeman Busia, can you tell us why you decided to do this?
Yes, absolutely. Basically, as you know, with the unfolding story of the Supreme Court, we figured there are moving parts to this story. There are different subplots to it. We just didn't happen to be at the Supreme Court. Something led us to get there. So they are, as they call in plays and literature, they are protagonists in this. People who led us there. On the petitioner side, of course, we know Nana Akufo-Addo, Jacob and Dr. Bawumia. And so when you look at that, to me, this is the biggest electoral case to have hit Africa. To me, this is the biggest challenge to our democracy. To me, this is a test of our constitution. And there are players in this. We are all players as part of this. We all have to be vigilant to watch this unfold and to see the end result of it. We felt that a component of this is there's an individual within this group of players, including you and I, and the electorate at large, that has played a role that we need to commend, meaning there's certain example we need to emulate, meaning they've done right by the Constitution. They have followed due process. Because what we find out after an election is overwhelming evidence on the side of the petitioners of irregularity. We know what has happened in neighboring countries. We know what options these electoral malpractices present to people to exercise. There is the constitutional process of trying to get resolution. There is the process of where people get agitated and felt that they've been stolen from, and so they hit the streets and there could be mayhem and chaos. Well, Akufo-Addo, Jake Obichi-Belamte and Dr. Bawumia decided to go to the court and let the court resolve the issue with the mounting evidence that they have. So the focus of this press conference was to, like you said, praise them. Let them understand that we appreciate what they've done. Let the world know that this is something for posterity to emulate. Let this be a flagship for Africa. And in fact, it's not unusual now for for these things to happen within Africa, but that what has happened with Ghana is being emulated by Kenya, as you know, within the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
And it's something to be commended. And so the effort here is to say, yeah, Bonana Baso, we're saying, well done for not plunging this country into chaos. Because by the numbers that they are challenging, that shows that there are 50% of this people, of the people of this country, who actually voted for him. By the numbers that is being challenged, not even by the numbers that is to be calculated in the Supreme Court based on the evidence that they have. That tells me that's a lot of power that somebody is controlling. That tells me that that option could have been exercised where people could have been in the streets and insecurity could have prevailed. And so we figured, let's look at the 40-year service of an individual and try to catalog what he has done in this area. Whenever he's been at a crossroad, the choices he's made. We began to see a theme within that individual, Nana Akufo-Addo, whereby every single time he's choosing peaceful resolution
over that. Now,
so that's why.
I just want to read a piece of your press conference or your press statement where you state something that Nana Danko Akufo-Addo said.
Yes.
And I'm reading.
Yes.
I am unequivocally committed to peace in our country. That is why in 2008, when I lost the presidential election by the smallest margin in our political history, and indeed in the history of Africa, I accepted the verdict of the Electoral Commission without demanding a recount or inciting my supporters, and thereby avoiding the spilling of even a single drop of Ghanaian blood. My resolve remains the same today. And that's what he said whilst addressing the Volta Regional House of Chiefs on a campaign trail.
That's correct.
In somewhere October 2012.
Yes.
So this sums up exactly what it is that you wanted to say.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, Mr. Stephen Amon, I want us to take a look at this. Some people claim that, yes, Nana Akufo-Addo had no other option but to go to the courts. And so he just followed laid down procedures. He had no other option. The security were up and doing, and that is why he went to the court. And so he deserves no such praise for anything at all.
Interesting. I think it is very sad. It is very pathetic. It is not just sad, but shame that sometimes you have people who claim, and once again I will say that because I'm a sinner, but I believe in God. People who claim Ghana is God's country, who claim they really go to church, they go to the mosque, and they are intellectuals.
We are fulfilling God's
Thank you very much. And they just want to display intellectual dishonesty. You know, some of them probably sometimes want to display their ego trips, I agree. But those that are intellectuals, and they know what has been happening on the continent of Africa, and they know what has happened before, even before this 2012 elections. And they know that a lot of Ghanaians have this misconception about Nana, that they were saying Nana is from a rich home, he doesn't respect, he's violent. Nana went and said, oh, die be die. Nana wanted bloodshed, and that they were even calling on other bodies, a whole lot.
But interestingly, it was this same group of people who said Nana is a violent man.
Thank you very much. That's what I'm saying, that then 2012 election, let's try to benchmark these to other African countries. Some of them, what actually prevailed in terms of severity, in terms of impact, cannot in any way compare to what has happened in Ghana. But as I'm talking to you now, they have not been able to recover from the destruction that resulted from the war or the conflict that ensued. And Ghana, after 2012 election, realized that pressure was being mounted. Almost all the regions, trust me. Those who were probably having their thoughts quietly, those who were publicly expressing their dissatisfaction and ready to cause whatever mayhem and whatever consequence that will come. Nana came out. He issued just a singular statement. The statement that he made, everybody went back to his shells or his home. And that has helped us, by the grace of God, enjoy the peace and tranquility and the coexistence we're having today. Against people who were out of conspiracy, out of mischief, framing allegations and trying to carve a picture of Nana that never existed. Let's compare, I will say that again. that when there was election delay in our country, just a delay, what did the NDC do? Some of their leaders were on other radio stations, I don't want to mention names, calling their supporters to troop to the Electoral Commission with guns, sticks, some of them even machetes, wielding all sorts of antisocial, scuzzy and aberrant behaviors prevailed. We saw in Ghana here. So if Nanado had been selfish, if Nanado had been violent and had not comported himself, had not shown, reaffirmed his commitment to the social interest rather than his selfish interest, what would have happened in Ghana today?
That's a very good question that you asked, but I'll come back to you again, Mr. Akwesi Ajiman Busia. The point has oftentimes been made that, you know, Ghana is a very peaceful country. So even if Nanado wanted his people to go out there and fight, nobody would have minded him. You believe in that assertion?
I don't, certainly don't. The people in this country are no different from the people across the globe who have chosen democracy as the path that they want to follow. And within it gives you the mechanism for truth and justice to prevail. Now, the idea of that Ghanaians will take abuse or turn the other cheek, it's not accurate. I don't think we want to get to the point where we test that, because the results is what Steve is talking about, that others are still paying a price for, and generations on end will have to pay a price for. I don't think that is accurate. I believe that we are law-abiding citizens. I believe that what Nanado has done demonstrates that kind of behavior in our leadership. But I don't think for a minute that if people's rights are abused, if people's rights are insulted on, if people have their capabilities are taken away, their rights and their power to choose the leaders that they want, power of the people is taken away, they'll continue to take that abuse. We've seen what has happened in past governments.
Okay. Now, I want to cut you here and quote you again in your press statement that I would emphasize that all die be die was a call for defense, a call to stand your ground and protect your right. It is a call that says that I am a citizen of this country and I have constitutional rights. Don't abuse my rights, brutalize, bastardize, or oppress me in your quest for power or in your quest to hold on to power.
Yeah.
In the face of aggression, I will defend that right even at the peril and cost of my very life, as echoed in our national anthem. Why the statement?
Because that's what all die be die meant. You've had the propaganda of people saying he's a warmonger and so forth. The context in which that was used has always been left out. Basically, Nana was just preaching the national anthem.
The very first question I want to ask you is that, does context matter in politics?
Context matter in behavior, context matter in everything. Context is why we are here talking about 2012. All die be die was in context. It wasn't said in isolation. But just what you read, it's meaningful to me, and I think it's meaningful to our audience as well. Basically, don't bastardize me, don't abuse me, don't take away my rights, and at the peril of my life, I'll defend that. This is our national anthem. Our motto says freedom and justice. Meaning justice, meaning my rights should be. When we went democratic, we didn't go, autocratic. We decided that this is the kind of government that we want. Kamaminka, kebinamin kebi. All right? We have a way of governing ourselves. We also say that you can only get to the top through the majority of the votes of the people. And so what happened in Akwatia and Chiriponi and those places, which led to this utterance, by the way, was people were being abused. What I was talking about in there, people's rights were being abrogated. And then Nana said, you know what? We're not going to let this happen. Please stand up for your rights. Defend what you have promised to. When we wrote the Constitution and we put our pen to that, that means we're protecting you for these things. And so basically, all die be die was not a call for war. It's a call for defense within that context. And so for propaganda, it sounds good for people to say what they want to say about that. But the truth of the matter is what we put in context for this.
Stephen, I know you are a very passionate speaker on this subject. I'll give you just about 2 minutes on this one.
I wouldn't even talk much. Not just defense, which I agree, yes, but also call for sacrifice and commitment to the cause of your country, ensuring freedom for all, ensuring coexistence, protection, ensuring that justice prevails. Because, look, there can never be peace in the absence of justice. It's impossible. And I think it will even be against God's principles when it comes to creation. Do you know that every living being on earth or living thing on earth has a defensive mechanism, naturally enshrined in it? That's why you have natural inertia. No matter how tiny it is, even the ant, it has some chemicals to defend itself, even the leaves. So as part of God's creation, God didn't say that everyone created by God, God was not biased. There's something in him. But the call for all die be die, in that context, as my brother is saying, defense, goes beyond defense and also tell us to sacrifice for our country. When we sing Yaniare Assassin, what's the meaning of that? Sometimes it's not picking guns and to go and fight. But situations such as what is prevailing now, that all the MPP supporters and the greater number of Ghanaians are saying that no, enough is enough. We are throwing our weight behind Nana Dankwa and the MPP fraternity to ensure that we are securing peace today for tomorrow. It's not all that we are doing today. It's not because of you and I. It's not because of Nana Dankwa. It's because we don't want any unscrupulous person in the near future to plunge this country into absolute destruction. No. What we want to do is that this is the time to commit everything that we have. Commit our intelligence, our knowledge, our resources, me, even our blood, to ensure that this country, whether NDC or MPP, whether Kusasi or Dagati or Frafra or Ashanti or Ghana or Ewe, you are part, you are a custodian of our country. The resources, the freedom, everything. We need to preserve them. And by doing that, it doesn't just come on a silver platter. You need to be firm, you need to be resolute, just as Nana is. You need to be very honest and make sure that you are doing this for today and tomorrow. Okay. And that means you don't have to retreat. You don't have to give up. You don't have to be selfish. We would not be here enjoying what we are enjoying today. People fought. Some even fought with their knowledge and their files and their legal expertise. Some fought with all forms of things to make sure that today Ghana is known as one of the countries with the highest, highly esteemed image on our continent. Okay. Except that now it's going back to where it was. And we need to pray hard and make sure that as part of the exercise to redeem the image of this country is to make sure that we use all legal means at our disposal to ensure that the right thing, the right mandate is restored. That is what we want to do.
Stephen Amos says that Ghana is going back to its dark days. Do you agree? I want you to think on these things, and then when I come back from this break, I'll open the phone lines for you to join this discussion. Welcome back. I know that you've been waiting to join this discussion, so you can. The phone lines are open. You can call in via 030-2211-701-4. I repeat the numbers again, 030-2211-701-4. As always, the text lines remain 1760 all networks. I repeat that, 1760 all networks. Now, Mr. Buzia, there's a statement that propagandists often make that Nana Akufo-Addo wants to be president at all costs. That's why he's gone to court. How do you find that statement?
That's interesting. Every time I hear that.
Before you do that, unfortunately, or fortunately, we've been joined by a caller, Baku from Yendi. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Chief. How is it?
Good evening to your panelists too.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to contribute to your program. But first, I want to find out, when is the case sitting on the case, the MPP case?
I think that on Thursday, 14th of March, 2013.
Thursday, 14th.
Yes, that is when we'll go back to court.
Okay.
The substantive case itself is another matter altogether, but we'll listen to what the court has to say on March 14th, and then we'll move on from that.
Okay. Then I wish the petitioners and then the entire MPP family the best of luck in the case.
The battle is the Lord's.
Good evening to your panelists.
Thank you very much. We also very much appreciate the fact that you called into the program. Enisa from Bolga, how are you?
I'm fine, Nana.
It's been a while.
Yes, it's true. Good evening to Stephen Namwa and our chairman.
Good evening.
United Kingdom.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. You said everything all there. It's let we, the supporters and the people who came massively to vote for Nana Akufo-Addo, and the votes were being diverted. That's why we have this Let My Vote Count alliance coming out to give pressure for electoral commission and the entire nation to see what the people of this country wanted to be, which is Nana Akufo-Addo to be the president of this country, but rather they've diverted everything. Currently, we are seeing the dumso and water problems in Accra, where fake drugs were being mixed in the water to even supply the people of this country, which is not good. And for the past NDC government, we know of this situation of this fuel crisis. Currently, it's been happening in this country. Okay. Just about an hour ago, I just got to a filling station, a huge queue in this region, which shows that there's going to be a shortage in the country again. And these people have been convincing us by saying it's a DKK, and gas and fuel have been increasing. Day in, day out. Tariffs are going to be raised again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Dinah from Akachi, how are you doing?
I would like to congratulate Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP supporters for the peace they are having for the country. We hope by God's grace, the Supreme Court will declare Nana Akufo-Addo as the president.
Inshallah.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, thank you very much for your call as well. Dinah from Akachi. Yegboa from Pandai, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing very well, my brother, and how are you?
By His grace.
We thank you very much for your good work we are doing for the people of this nation. It's like the propaganda has actually sent them to wherever they are propagated and has sent them to. Our prayer is that the economy and other things that are not going well, we hope that things will get better when things we put right things at the right place. And actually, we don't have anything here again, and we are sorry what is happening. The fuel prices, we don't have gas, we don't have anything, and yet the prices keep on going. No electricity for us, and nothing, and we don't know what is going on. They should tell us what they want us to do.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for your good work.
Kofi from Wa, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, my boss. How's the family of you? I'm so much appreciated anytime I see you on this explaining matters like this, especially with my honorable man, Asamoah.
Yes, sir.
So I'm very happy. So I'm very congratulated. They want to congratulate you for all that you have been doing. We are solely behind the case, and we are also monitoring very keenly whatever committee we have on the ground. We also will link it up to our regional executives. So I want to wish you all the best and hope that God will grant us to rule the country through Nanado.
Okay.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you very much. I have Samuel from Abetifi. Samuel, how are you?
I am fine.
Senior, you have the floor, sorry.
Yeah, I am very grateful to you for the work you are doing. We are all praying that things will get better for the party because we believe that we were seriously cheated. So we congratulate you for the work we are doing, and we believe that we are going to just open up our minds on everything that is happening in the country so that we'll be abreast with the situation on the ground.
Okay, Senior.
Thank you.
Thank you too very much. That was my last caller, and so I'll come back to the in-studio discussion. But you see that through all the calls as well, that pain is still there. The grief is still there. The people are calling out, calling for the right thing to be done. How do you feel when you hear such sentiments?
It's painful.
And that's wrapping up.
It's painful. There's despair. But you had a question on the table before we move forward. I guess we're running against time.
Yeah.
But it's despair. But I think there's hope also at the end of the tunnel. We know that it's a process. We know the arm of justice moves slowly, but it will get there. The act of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We'll get there. We also know the Constitution allows us to follow this process. And so I am hopeful, in spite of the despair, in spite of the fact that people put their heart into this campaign. People knew who they had voted for, and to have it be taken away from them. This is not the end of this story. It's still unfolding. We just have to let due process occur. And that is why we have the judiciary. And so even as I agree there's despair, there's also hope. And with that, we will appreciate it more once we get there, because we will get there.
Okay, we will get there.
Yes.
Slowly.
But
Stephen, wrapping up.
It is my prayer that the truth will prevail over other factors. It is my prayer that the good people of this country will place Ghana first. It is my prayer that the judges will have the courage, the boldness, the fear of God to rule this case in favor of the truth and justice, so that Ghana can really be repositioned where it was. I think this shouldn't even drag Ghana into any other unacceptable position. It is clear, it is mathematics, but I'm so grateful to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, not because I support the PP, but I think his comportment during these crises, except those who do not believe God exists, will not allow this man, because what he's done, you remember Kenya, what Nana has done now has become a marking scheme,
a standard
for others, a standard, a model for others on the continent.
And we hope that there will be no more war in Africa because
I'm even surprised. I'm sure it was not done by Nana himself, but the grace of God is abundant over his life, because this thing can never be done by a human being. So, Nana, we thank you so much. Keep it up. I'm sure the good Lord will be with you and be with the MPP. And God will win this case. At all costs, God will win this case. Thank you, my brother.
Okay, now this is it, coming to an end of the show. Once again, it's been Minority Caucus. I want to leave you with a couple of words. First of all, no lie can live forever. Yes, they may prevail for a period of time. Yes, the evil may be pervasive in our society. Yes, the pain and the despair that lies within your heart and mind will be there for a while. But you know what? We serve a living God, and we believe that the battle is still the Lord's. My name is Nana Akufo-Addo. This has been Minority Caucus. It's been good having you on the program, and we hope to see you again on Wednesday. Good night.